There's a reason this video didn't show up earlier. It waited. For the moment you cracked, but didn't break. For the quiet second between pretending and collapsing. For the hollow echo behind your laugh. That's when it arrived. Because this isn't a video for the strong. It's not for the loud, the confident, or the endlessly distracted. It's for the man who's tired, but can't explain why. Who's surrounded, but alone. Who wakes up and doesn't recognize himself anymore. Maybe you've outgrown your old life. The friends who only talk about nothing. The goals that once drove you but now feel empty. The woman who says she loves you but never sees you. There's a wordless pain in you. You built walls, routines, smiles, but they're masks. And deep inside, you're asking one terrifying question. Is this it? You're not broken. You're awakening. This is the space few people ever find. It's the space between the noise of the world and the voice of the soul. Most men numb it with work, sex, distractions, alcohol, fake ambition. They run from it because it hurts, because it demands change. But you didn't run. You paused, and that's why you're here. What you're feeling isn't weakness. It's the weight of truth pressing down, asking to be seen. That gnawing ache in your chest, that's not anxiety. That's the soul starving for meaning. And meaning isn't found in comfort. It's found in confrontation. You've been taught to chase happiness. But Jung once wrote, only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life. And what is your paradox now? That you can have everything and still feel nothing. But here's the shift. You're not here to feel good. You're here to feel real. You're not alone. Thousands of men have been exactly where you are, on the edge of quitting, of vanishing, of giving up. But instead of ending their story, they rewrote it. Not with noise, but with stillness. Not with applause, but with presence. Not with validation, but with solitude. And now you've reached that same edge. The good news? This isn't the end. It's the beginning of the man you were always meant to become. But it starts with one brutal truth. You must let go of the man you were pretending to be. So take a breath. Feel what you've been avoiding. Let the weight sit on your chest. Don't resist it. This is the dark forge of clarity. And on the other side of it is power. No one ever tells you that personal growth feels like dying. Because it does. When the illusions you clung to begin to fall apart. When you realize the person you were chasing approval from never even saw you. When your goals collapse under the weight of their meaninglessness, that's not weakness. That's a funeral. A quiet death of the man you pretended to be. You start to grieve, but no one notices. Because on the surface, nothing looks wrong. You still show up, you still smile, you still get the job done. But inside, something is unraveling, something sacred, something necessary. That's the initiation most men miss. The moment where you either numb the pain or walk straight into it. Because inside that pain is a message, a whisper from your unconscious. Stop betraying yourself. All your life you've been taught to adapt, to shrink your truth to make others comfortable, to silence your instincts in exchange for acceptance, to chase things just because everyone else said they matter. But you're done playing that game. Jung believed that the self isn't something you find. It's something you remember. And the more layers you strip away, the people-pleasing, the perfectionism, the fake humility, the more you start to hear your true voice again. But it speaks in discomfort. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't promise happiness. It demands honesty. You don't need more motivation. You need courage to confront what's already inside you. The anger, the regret, the desire for something deeper. Most men bury these things. They put on suits of armor. Success, status, charm, discipline. But armor's heavy, and eventually it breaks you. Right now, you might feel like you're falling apart. But look closer. What's fallen apart is what no longer belongs. The real you is not crumbling. He's emerging. You're not lost. You're in between. between who you thought you were and who you truly are. This is the part where most men quit. They go back to pretending, back to comfort, back to being liked. But if you stay here, in the discomfort, you'll find something most men never do: self-respect. Not the kind that comes from achievements, but the kind that comes from finally facing the truth and not looking away. This is the death before the rebirth. And if you can endure it, if you can sit in it without numbing, fixing, or fleeing, you'll walk out the other side with a presence that needs no explanation, a clarity that cuts through the noise, and a power that doesn't ask for permission. You're not becoming someone new, you're finally becoming real. There's a point on this path where the silence gets deafening. The texts stop, the calls fade, the invitations dry up. You look around and realize no one is coming to save you. No one is clapping for your growth. No one even notices the war you're fighting inside. And that's exactly how it's meant to be. Transformation doesn't happen in the crowd. It happens in the shadows, in the stillness, in the sacred solitude you once feared. Because it's in that solitude that your true self begins to speak. Not the self shaped by society, not the identity you built to survive, but the raw, unfiltered core that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. And here's the brutal truth: most men never get this far. They fill the silence with distractions. They fear being alone because they've mistaken loneliness for emptiness. But solitude isn't emptiness, it's presence. And if you can learn to sit in that presence, to walk through the forest of your own mind without flinching, you'll discover something rare: self-trust. Not the shallow kind that's built on affirmations and morning routines, but the deep, immovable kind that comes from knowing who you are without needing anyone else to agree. Carl Jung believed this is the beginning of individuation. The moment you stop outsourcing your identity and start forging it from the inside out. This is where your power returns, not as a performance, but as essence. When you stop needing to be liked, you become magnetic. When you stop explaining yourself, your words carry weight. When you stop performing confidence, you radiate it effortlessly. But this doesn't happen overnight. You will be misunderstood. You will be judged. You will lose people. That's not failure. That's purification. The man you're becoming can't afford to carry dead weight. Not in his relationships, not in his beliefs, and definitely not in his own mind. So let it burn. Let the loneliness strip away the noise. Let it carve out the space your soul has been starving for. Because once you find peace in solitude, you become untouchable. No flattery can seduce you. No rejection can break you. No illusion can enslave you. You are your own compass now. And that is the beginning of real freedom. At some point, the pain catches up with you. Not the obvious pain, not heartbreak or failure, but the quieter kind. The aching sense that you've betrayed yourself one too many times. That every time you said yes when you meant no. Every time you swallowed your truth to keep the peace. Every time you chased approval instead of purpose. You lost a piece of yourself. And now, you're surrounded by people. But you feel unseen. You smile out of habit. But inside, there's unrest. You're praised for your niceness, but it comes at the cost of your power. This is the identity death Jung warned about. It feels like you're falling apart, but you're not. You're shedding. The version of you that lived to be accepted is dying. So the one who lives in truth can finally rise. But here's the trap most never escape. They confuse healing with hiding. They retreat, not to rebuild, but to numb. They romanticize solitude, but never confront their wounds. They talk about self-awareness, but never do the real excavation. And so the cycle repeats, lonely, frustrated, unchanged. But if you're still watching this, you're not like them. You're ready to face the real enemy, your unconscious patterns. Because until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life. And you'll call it fate. You'll keep attracting the same toxic partners, repeating the same sabotaging behaviors, living in the same invisible prison, while wondering why nothing changes. The answer isn't more productivity hacks. It's not another surface-level mindset shift. It's integration. Integrating your fear, your anger, your insecurity, your hunger for love, your need for control, not to judge it, but to understand it. Because every behavior you hate in yourself isn't a flaw, it's a messenger. It's pointing to a wound you haven't healed, a part of yourself you've exiled, a truth you've been too afraid to face. But when you stop running, when you sit with the discomfort, when you listen instead of escaping, something shifts. You no longer need to be fixed. You need to be reconnected to your body, to your boundaries, to the man you were before the world broke you. And once you do that, you stop chasing love. You stop proving your worth. You stop performing strength. Because real power doesn't need to shout. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply is. If you've made it this far, something inside you already knows. You're not here to stay broken. You're here to remember who you were before the masks, before the self-doubt, before the noise of the world drowned out your inner voice. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who your parents wanted, not who society rewarded, not even who your past shaped you into, but who you are underneath it all, the raw, real, unfiltered self that has been buried beneath trauma, silenced by shame, and blurred by years of pretending." And once you see that truth, you can't unsee it. You begin to pull back from people who drain you. You begin to speak with more clarity and less fear. You begin to take up space, not arrogantly, but unapologetically. You stop asking for permission because you realize no one is coming to save you. Not the relationship, not the promotion, not the guru, the podcast, or the next life hack. There is no path forward that does not first go inward. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop searching outward is the moment you finally come home to yourself. You feel the stillness, the groundedness, the quiet strength that doesn't need validation. That's when life changes. Not because the world is different, but because you are. You move differently. You see differently. You love differently. You're no longer pulled by chaos or seduced by dysfunction. You've become immune to the games. You've outgrown the need to be liked. You've made peace with your past and chosen to build a life rooted in wholeness. That's the real power. Not dominance, not control, but sovereignty. You belong to yourself now, and people will feel it. The way you walk, the way you listen, the way you set boundaries with quiet certainty. Some will be intimidated, others will be inspired, but none will mistake you for who you used to be. Because now you're not acting strong, you are strong. Not because you avoided pain, but because you faced it, sat with it, learned from it. You didn't run, you rose. And that's why this video found you, because deep down, you always knew. You were never lost. You were just waiting to wake up. And now you have.